Now, speaking of Shedeur Sanders, I've been way out front on all this, and I'm sure a lot of people out there are laughing at me, but I said before last season started that Shedeur should go first overall and that Travis Hunter should go second. I'm not saying that will happen. I just said it should happen. Mark my words. Remember my words. I also predicted 2 months ago that Shedeur Sanders would become the biggest target in this year's draft, the most hyper-criticized and picked-apart player in this draft, unfairly and wrongly so, but I predicted this would happen. Then the other day, I read 2 stories in USA Today that knocked me off my chair. First was a mock draft in which Shedeur Sanders falls all the way. You can read it right now on USA Today. He falls all the way to 27th, at which point, according to this mock, the Jets trade up to take Shedeur, which would be the steal of the century for the Jets. Of course, my first thought was, wait a second. You're saying Shedeur Sanders will be there for my Cowboys at 12? And my Cowboys will pass because we're stuck with Dak? Listen, Shedeur will be so much better than Dak Prescott. More dynamic leader, more clutch, more Deion-inspired pedigree running through his veins, just better. Then I read a USA Today column by Mike Freeman about how a quote-unquote smear campaign is being conducted against Shedeur. Mike Freeman referred to a tweet from the great Josina Anderson, who is so plugged in. Josina tweeted, and I quote, "I am disappointed to hear that a quarterback's coach from a team drafting in the top 7 referred to Shedeur Sanders coming off as, quote, brash and, quote unquote, arrogant in his team interview and making his assessment known to a number of people per a source." Josina continued, and I quote, "This coach's personal assessment is the direct opposite from how Sanders came across to many reporters in his press conference with the media at the Combine. He seemed cordial, polite, witty, thoughtful, along with being confident," and Josina in parentheses says, "as many athletes are." Then Josina concluded, and I quote, "According to league sources, said quarterback coach seems to have issue with the quote-unquote culture, the culture of athletes who have broad fame and financial success before entering the NFL," unquote. Exactly as I predicted. Now, I'll go a step deeper here. There are surely going to be old school white GMs and coaches and owners who are not going to like the way Shedeur is because they never liked the way his father was. I'm talking about Neon Deion prime time, who was so brash and so arrogant in such great ways because Deion Sanders, the cornerback, could back it up. So can Shedeur. But some old school white execs and coaches just aren't going to want a franchise quarterback who already owns several exotic cars and who already has an NFL star level jewelry collection. That's because I'm pretty sure that Shedeur was the highest paid player in college football history. That was because he was worth every penny of that NIL money to Colorado, which became the talk of the country. And here's the point. Shedeur grew up with money. So if, say, Shedeur did go number 1 overall to Tennessee, couldn't the Titans trust that the money wouldn't go to his head, that he would have no problem handling his new riches because he's been handling his money for years? The other key point about Shedeur is that money sure didn't make him soft. Nope. This young man was as tough a college quarterback as I have ever watched. The punishment he took behind shaky lines so many times, he got rocked and he jumped right back up and fired another completion. Shedeur Sanders is old school tough. Will he talk a little trash? If you start it, he'll finish it. Will he occasionally tap his watch? It's Shedeur time. That's usually after a big win. Deion Sanders raised his son the right way. High football character, mental and physical toughness. But please understand, this isn't about the NFL flinching from drafting black quarterbacks in general. Nope. As I pointed out on this show, the NFL is drafting black quarterbacks like crazy. Cam Ward could go number 1 overall to Tennessee or very high in the draft. Obviously, 2 black quarterbacks started in the Super Bowl again. No, this is just about drafting this black quarterback, Deion's son. This smear campaign is exactly what I thought would happen. Now, of course, it's possible teams are smoke screening, trying to smear Shedeur so he'll fall to them. But I'm going to say this again. If the Tennessee Titans don't take Shedeur Sanders, they will forever regret it. Now, that's unless Deion has quietly made it clear to Tennessee and maybe to Cleveland that he wants his son playing in the Big Apple in New York for the Giants, who draft 3rd. Is it possible the Giants would then talk themselves out of Shedeur? As a Cowboy fan, I sure hope so.